Oh, I just watched a video regarding a debate between Elon Musk and the Pope, but it's not clear if it was a real debate or just a picture generated of Elon Musk and the Pope going back and forth with those same thing with people with passions, emotions regarding either what they call reason or what they call faith, both with tactical delusions and criminally foreign influence, fact shaping nature, quality aspects, and nature relative to their quality of debate as collusions with mass. They're attaching us to fake words with the news and interbranch switching and forging names at the same time. Black pupils, in other words. And then they have black, white, female judges with a detective Samuda with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic military intelligence interbranch families from Weathersfield that are recorded. In other words, there's been with the FBI too, former director of the FBI, Robert Lusk, and his co-defendants, criminally foreign influence with upskirt natures on Twitter, right through the sale of it from Twitter to X. I please, Elon Musk, do what's right and get me one name. It's New Britain Superior Court has their Facebook page involved some way with themselves, the ones responsible for criminally foreign influence. Some ways it's the FBI and Harvard courts. Some ways it's criminal enterprises with those same ones, and with a principal child offender, more obscure pictures, roles tied to the ones that after he was caught for a principal child abuser on Facebook, because they're also measuring maintaining self-body roles with sequence shifts and with new predicate acts with more women and men at the campuses. One of the teachers recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed there are people with the name. Also, as others did, and students, there are people with the name Lance Cuddy and associated with the Lance Cuddy. He non-verbally confirmed years after that from that little girl who's one of the women and men who forced medical and sexual offenders of kids. There are judges and prosecutors with their family members, interagencies and intelligence with drugs and medicines crimes, identity theft, fraud, slanders. They've been speaking fake things in records with people involved with wire crimes at the Weathersfield police, and people tied to them that have been planting evidences on all sides of my house since I was a kid, and next to their houses too. And these are ones with extended family members, ones involved with the World Trade Center predicate acts, ones with the name Scalora, also with officers switching and forging names with the courts for refusing to identify themselves. The beginning of the Old Testament says, only defend right here. Only. It says only defend right here where the names of the people of the sciences will come together. This is about reason. You guys are keeping faith, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. You're keeping victims / hyper victims reacting to it exactly the way the breaching method needs to hide behind the fake sides. These are collusions. I don't know. I'm sure it's not them really, but even if, in other words, because the way that it wasn't them really, but the way they're describing this interaction, in other words, it's broken grammar school. In other words, physics. And I put a link too to one of Judge Napolitano's sources. Shout out to Moscow and Russia. Moscow was one of the best, like 400 or 500 people last month from Moscow watched my videos. Thank you for watching my shadow boxing, probably. You guys should watch my live streams though, because the suburbs from America to Russia to Ukraine are criminally foreign influence, and tactically delusions raw too are the natures of, debate quality aspects of nature itself as criminal insidiousness / hypercriminal insidiousness, per there being a breaching method as a scientific value, also one with other things, others ourselves. Blamed right where and how nature itself is telling us that's what we needed to blame, because it also used how it forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded, sustained roles with everyone blaming nature, with everyone using roles with it, keeping nature's demonstrations of itself. For example, a human factory nature breaching method blamed on other things, others themselves, that which caused slavery, for example. Before America's founders were born, the suburbs, north and south, they were already entrenched with slavery and roles with it. Therefore, against everyone was tortured, extorted, and enslaved. There were crazy laws against every single person regarding this and all the other things. I learned in notes at Central Connecticut State University that even if you were you heard someone speaking about building infrastructure outside of internationally monitored conversations, they hurt that person and everyone next to them just for not telling on someone. In other words, the suburbs were designed before America's founders were born and before cars were even around. And we're still on that scale of nature of infrastructure. It is only capable of everyone's now hungering. Everyone has now hunger and thirst through systems tactical ulterior from nature's when nature is also paused down onto itself with nature's demonstrations. The republic for which we stand is it cannot function positive without the pantheism, the science of pantheism, that the Trinity and that the Quran are multi-front. The beginning of the Quran also comes in the part that the people who counter the religion and the people who defend the religions and the exceptions have collusions with each other per use of location /s, collusion/s. And the uses is right, the use /s is right where everyone missed. And /miss is actually actively and with perspective to come. In other words, also has a value as that slash, because it's already valued here now, and like the seasons are. But now the seasons, we are valuing them, have valued them through systems tactically abridged. All roles pretending other. Communicating other than our founders communicated, to have communicated for themselves. So I'm sorry, I forgot his name. It's nothing personal against him. You know, I'm giving a shout out to him and to Judge Napolitano and to Russia and to Italy. Italy also has people with the name DeMauro who are involved with proven child abusers, leaders of the kids, years apart, first forced, and there are more recorded involved with them. They have roles with DeMauro's Market, where it used to be next to Hartford Hospital, also with Aiello's Kitchen and in a house named Maiano, and other people that live there temporarily, et cetera. Involved with intercities on and off campuses with predicate acts with facts, identity theft, fraud, slanders. Increasingly, neighbors and people associated with the John Maiano were involved with identity theft, planting evidences interstates, and sequence shifts with names on my house involved wire crimes of Wethersfield police, and the people with upskirt natures on Twitter. And it was first on X. I mean, it was on Twitter. Now it's on X. I've been begging Elon Musk, but he's being influenced with the other company, like Facebook itself, too, has roles with a woman on their advertisements who look just like Celeste Wells. She made, in other words, she's recorded involved with predicate acts with facts and fake conversations with me, with the people that, in other words, she faked things with some judges and prosecutors and intelligence families all along Old Wethersfield from the founding locations all the way along Route 175 and its conjunctions. In other words, and her roles with publishers and news with news predicate acts, WFSB pretended fake conversations with me, also with people involved with that. New Britain Superior Court has their Facebook page involved with rape threats and other federal evidences crimes and passion crimes after the World Trade Center attack, as their recorded roles with corruption having affected confessions and requests to help from Eric Burgess and Emily and or Amy. People involved also switching names with courts and FBI at the same time, individually grouped and together. Also with other agencies and state police families, interstates. A Mazzucato Bakery, where they are in Hartford, and where they have roles with a corner of Elm Street and Wethersfield. Years before they were there, a whole bunch of people on the Elm Street in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill have roles with the retired police chiefs with them, with foreign and domestic military and medical families, ones with badges, and with the military. There are proofs that there's a DeMauro who brought up the name, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's the name Napolitano involved with them and with their confessions regarding all sides of the of the Weathersfield Community Center. I only saw him and my neighbor, Ray Colo, one of the ones involved with wire crimes, increasingly with Weathersfield police, mail crimes with them, roles, with judges speaking fake things in records, with child offenders first forced, and more then and now recorded. So they're keeping the conversation criminal insidiousness nature, and they're preventing writing. So since I was a kid, they put falsified police reports, a raise of them for each arrest. So no one could go back and look what properly happened. Ray Clo, Joe DeMoro, and people with the name Kerr said, also ILO, through the years, they said next to the parks, they've been planting evidences with former mayors and people tied to mayors' families and ones who know my name. I don't even know their name. The intelligence associated with them and next to the parks that has something to do with the fake things they're putting in databases. They're acting also for others to take pictures of things, fake exceptions. They made confessions about their roles with a Danielle Perron and a Tom Perron. One time they took my picture apparently at night in the park at Millwoods Park with a Danielle Perron, Mark Violet, a Justin Klavinskis. They have something to do with the intelligence families, foreign and domestic military, next to Trinity College, next to CCSU, Central Connecticut State University, and next to Hartford Hospital, including with the girl who was dragged to her death, reportedly dragged to her death from there and dropped off all the way in Weathersfield at the corner to dead after being dragged that way by a car, per the reports, at the corner of Jordan and Lane and Ridge Road, I believe that is still at that point. In other words, and that's like down the street from where a Mazzucato family is involved with sequence shifts and planting, in other words, after planting fake ties to me, fake natures of ties to me, pictures after I graduated. I never saw them the whole time. When I was, in other words, I was supposed to graduate in 93. The reason I didn't graduate, that teacher who I never had a personal conversation with, and her students have roles in Washington, D.C., with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and with people all along Route 175 and its conjunctions who increasingly timed have collusions with whiting forensics increasingly too. That's also one of the things. And their roles with a former Mayor Gold and other former mayors from Weathersfield and intercities and other natures of politicians, Joseph Lieberman. There's a relative of there's a Domain family next on Fox Connecticut News who's involved with there's a Mike Domain and Adam Domain who's involved also with Inspector Mike, who's involved also with a Mike Delafero with a campus apparently of fire department people. He has roles with brothers I don't know their names of. I only know their names because it was repeated to me by others, and they demonstrate through they have a father involved with them with town lines through time planting evidences and framing kids for using they used to have a cigarette machine. You punch the button and it makes it sound like a sound, and the phone thinks that you put the money in to make a phone call. And so they were framing kids for federal crimes because this is a probate judge and his family and their family, and they had roles with some Spada sisters who also have roles with a probate judge, and their roles together on Two Route Highway and Hangdog Lane with my neighbors have wire and mail crimes with them and people on out the state corrections and judicial branch offices who have been planting wire crime methods with them and the Weathersfield police and courts switching and forging names and their roles all along Route 3 with predicate acts and the corner of Ray Colo, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He has roles with retired police chiefs from Weathersfield at the corner of Elm Street and Route 3 from years before Mazzucato Bakery went there. From where, I don't know if it's still in its old place on Franklin Avenue. And Modern Pastry has a Mayano family involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, also with DeMoros. And he reportedly used to work at Modern Pastry. In other words, they've been lying about themselves and me to Modern Pastry people since I was a kid, has something to do with their roles with the location not far from the child abuser principal's campus. And the daughter of a principal when I was there also has roles with a Rick Cianfaglione, with a Brendan Leahy, with multiple people with the name Brendan Leahy, multiple people, different ages of their family, involved also with a Brian Silver, with different ages of his family too, involved with child offenders, sexual, medical, and interbranch with prosecutors and judges speaking fake things and stocking databases as collusions with overt criminal enterprises and private ones at the same time. And the news, WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others. Mark Violet has roles with military next to them doing this through time. And there's an Eric Oliveri and a Craig Oliveri who also have been lying about themselves and others with and their roles with Elm Street and Weathersfield and Rocky Hill. They have something to do with the corner of Elm Street and Weathersfield and Rocky Hill. As I never tried to seek them out in my life. They've been planting evidences with people on off the state judicial branch offices. It has something to do with their roles with Trinity College. A whole bunch of people from Trinity College involved with predicate acts with names from other areas on my street, and with the ones named Cololo and Smith involved with the ongoing police forging and switching names. So in other words, Judge Napolitano, is this a judge? He looks just like the Joe DeMoro who brought your name into the confessions. And don't let him pretend it wasn't confessions. He didn't know it was confessions and recorded it. And with his brother, John DeMoro, too, near the sea, where they live not far from the he's in Old Weathersfield, not far from the Board of Education for the whole state. And there are names of multiple people and tied to them on Church Street in Old Weathersfield, increasingly involved with natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders, and time collusion /S with relative home break-ins in the area, as people from other areas involved with corners of the street uses too. They miss. Jeremy Grohl, who's one of the ones on and off the state, I never saw him at the community center. I only saw a Mike Demain there real fast one time. One of the two times I ever saw him off campus. Both times he was planting evidences. He ran off a stage. He was reportedly being having been hypnotized. All the people that were hypnotized were have involvements with names next to Hartford Hospital as ones that are personally involved with attaching me as doctors. Ones that did fake conversations with them. One's named Leahy. Increasingly involved with people with their kids and the adults in their family as the ones that planted evidence on my street, with ones named O'Brien and O'Brien and Cololo, increasingly with wire crimes since they were little kids in grammar school. Sending police to people's house with bullshit. In other words, a Tim O'Brien too, looked like him wearing the dress near Red Cololo at the corner of Carriage Hill Drive and Fox Hill. Increasingly, there was another guy who took a picture right when we were taking the corner of me and my mother. They're fishing for means to cover up what I caught them doing through administrations. Weathersfield Police recorded confessed demonstration confirmed each year. Intercities, they have roles with predicate acts with fax methods, and with people, a whole bunch of people at Trinity College and Central Connecticut State University involved with wire crimes with them, predicate acts with them, whole methods of predicate acts with them, and them switching names and preventing paper. They have Russians. They have a Thomas Peruta who's involved with my sixth grade class, and they put a Robert Heimgardner next to me, who's involved with the Casper family, and a Debbie Gold who has a father, and a person named Lee Gold too is brought in by the increasingly confessions are tied and demonstrations are tied to former mayors. There's also ones on Facebook recorded being coached with the agencies involved, including CIA and state police involved with the grandfather and other ages and natures of family members with the Eric Jensen and people with the state police interstates. Also with a Mike Roberts recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed federal evidences, crimes, and sequence shifts with a Joe DeMoro who's one of the ones with Middlesex Community College, involved with sequence ships, also with names at the World Trade Center next to it, and inside the court next to it too, the Ninth Circuit Court next to it in the World Trade Center attack context, and since long term and short term leading up to it in that context and since. These are also people that have collusions with police named Mendez with the Saudi attackers, and with I don't know if that's a Mendez that lives not far from John Mayano. I don't know if that's where the Eric Mendez grew up. I had no clue. In other words, and Eric Mendez is also involved with them with sequence ships and with with increasingly people tied to Jonathan Mayano, his coaches, like a football coach, and roles with locations intercities with them. The military's criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought since founding, roles of identity theft, fraud, slanders. Get them on paper, one name in sequence. And I want the names of the educators of Mark Violet brought into this. I never had one class with him or his brother, Mike Violet. And their roles with the next to the names next to Harvard Hospital and add it. They're refusing to give me help too. I'm asking you guys for help since before the World Trade Center attack, when all these people too, I didn't know it was all connected. I found this out more and more because you guys are confessing too, leaking with silence now too, because you're obligated by mandated law to respond to me. Face-to-face conversations with me about the World Trade Center, WFSB. What are you doing with the military next to you? Because sometimes they're more criminally involved than you, and sometimes you guys are too. And the difference of that is being used, because you guys have been used remotely since you're through the years, intercities, and on and off the campuses involved. You were involved with my fourth grade class with a Hilton Catterley, and this, in other words, and Sal Civiello, and people with the name Morin are involved with mayors from Wethersfield hiding and covering up things with the FBI and lawyers. There's a Robert Chevrolet, who's one of the lawyers, a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants, who's also collusion with their neighbors, with names associated with the Wethersfield Police Department through time. Various probation officers, intercities, and their roles with the courts, judges, and people that work at the courts and their family members who have been scams at those locations, leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. Harper courts and their sources and family members were court to confess, demonstrated, confirmed. There's an Officer Hunter. I don't know if that's his real name because they switched names, but I noticed him at Central Connecticut State University. He has roles with the buildings at Central Connecticut State University when he was apparently a student there. But he's involved with all kinds of natures of federal evidences crimes and intercities. He has roles next to where also Lena's Pizza has a Lance Cuddy who's brought up by one of the teachers and confessed by kids when I was a kid. I didn't even know him. So they put a whole bunch of people I never had classes with that went to other schools to ones that I don't know from my schools that were in other classrooms putting fake things with various natures of federal criminals before they got caught, and their ties to and their collusions with intimate ties of Wethersfield police chiefs retired. And in other words, ongoing too, because the same ones are involved with wire crimes with Newington Police, Rocky Hill Police, Wethersfield Police, New Britain Police, the same ones on my street. Covington Street has a Kyle Gill who sought me out before I ever before I ever lived on that street in the apartment there. He sought me out. I didn't respond to it. He didn't know who I was. He was influenced since he was a little kid. Rolls with a Brian Silver and a Leahy family with drugs and medicines crimes with kids, overt criminal enterprises, a whole bunch of foreign and domestic countries, people from, the people who have international relations that are formal with where it's called peace between Canada and America and Mexico and America. They have collusions at Central Connecticut State University with these names on all sides of that campus too. Justin Klavinskis is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He was influenced to plant evidences on the northern side of Central Connecticut State University, right near the He's a little traitor. He's a fake. He lies about himself and others. I don't know what the extent of it. It has some. He recorded, confessed, them. He saw me out. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He has roles playing to get acting so others can pretend fake things for him, so he can, all along Route 175 has something to do with their roles with the Koreans too. There are Koreans and people associated with them from America, associated with Mark Violet and Ray Cololo and Michael Roberts. They try to take your picture around you, make it look like you know them. It has something to do with their roles at locations at town lines, and their roles with a Chandler family, for example, too. And they're like roles with hotels and motels associated with reportedly his sister. I never met her. I don't know if that was her. If I no, when I bought something from a food bag, I never ate. I never spoke with her. In other words, they have something to do with Koreans and their roles with spots where the Wethersfield Police Department is now. There are names next to it who have roles on off Hartford Hospital with all kinds of natures of organized crime and roles with home break-ins. Joe DeMauro recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's people with the name Mancini. There's a Marco Mancini. I barely know him. The only time I ever even saw where he lived, Joe DeMauro and Ray Claw were influenced to ask me to make a pipe bomb with them right before that. A Mike Roberts too. I never tried to seek him out. He sought me out, wanted him with others to he wanted to make a pipe bomb in his basement, and then go shoot it near the town line. I mean, near Two Rod Highway, Hang Dog Lane. Also, something to do with people with the name Casper that were brought up at Hartford Hospital. They have their patients and criminals running in there to hide life progressions. A whole bunch of people associated with campuses, like fire campuses. And there's a guy who confessed that he was his sister deals with. I didn't respond to him. I had no communication with him. They're saying loading thing. His sister works at a place where people call in for if they're going to commit suicide. These are people involved with all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. There are people with a whole bunch of people tied to a Fred Grouze involved with not legitimate roles with unmarked police forms and criminal enterprises, identity thefts and frauds and slanders with intelligence families near me, and with their roles with the modern pastry, with the people associated with this Mayano family at 3 spots at the end of the Bone Turnpike. It has something to do with the Joshua Schumack, planting evidences with the Facebook page of the Wethersfield Police Department with his mother. His mother's involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against little kids she doesn't even know. And they're trying to take a picture to make fake exception and demonstration of the same thing. They can't pretend that on paper. But she has roles with child defenders, sexual, medical, and other, and has something to do with their roles at 3 spots at the end of the Bone Turnpike. They've been lying about to my family members, fake ties to me with the extended family members of my neighbors too, like Phil Cololo is one of the ones involved with whiting forensics, increasingly planting evidences on campuses. Also with the Joshua Julian, who's one of the ones involved with the Cololos, with the whiting forensics, and with people named O'Brien, also with them with that, and child offenders with Sandy Hook campuses. And the FBI is recorded to an extent. They know they have collusions with that, and they have the little sick fake punks pretending to be against such. So get them on paper with the one name in sequence with the Sandy Hook campuses too, because they're involved with the rest of the Wethersfield schools. There's a Michael Emmett further involved in the principal child abuser, Mr. Michael Bean. He also said Mike Levine is one of the names involved. And that's also, even if then he pretended he messed up his name. But who messed up their name? In other words, and Mike Levine was also involved anyways, a whole bunch of ways with that have something to do with Saudis and DeMauros and their rules with probate court judges and identity theft, fraud, slanders, and right next to the side entrance on a street parallel, I mean perpendicular to Town Line Drive, which goes by the backside of Walmart which we used to be Caldor years ago. In other words, the policing of that area and it's how it's also a town line. It has a whole bunch of people names involved, with a Ray Colo and a Joe DeMauro have roles, and people with the name Casper, people associated with their educators involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, putting fake things in databases. And increasingly, it's people involved with corruption between Washington, D.C. and interstates, criminally foreign influence, but also hyper-criminally foreign influence, specifically designed to keep countries A through Z, or the locations, areas, and states, forcing also the roles with the difference, blaming other things other than ourselves for things that nature itself is demonstrating. In other words, nature itself demonstrates its identity, is projecting to us. We have two eyes. The fish, the birds have two eyes. We have quality aspects in nature, distinct but also non-distinct, and simultaneously, but also further hyper simultaneous. We still have the people pretending that they believe, like one of the sources of Judge Napolitano regarding Russians and their perspectives, and he's making physics seem like it's something that it's not. People associated with physics and teaching that math to people named DeMauro, they have roles with what real estate companies with federal evidences crimes. A guy, I don't even know all their names. They know my name, and their roles with programmers and the educators. There's a son of an educator who begged me to take a computer class with him. Who was involved with the Mike Pandolf, also as one of the ones involved. There were judges and FBI and other agencies were planting evidences and collusions at boxing gyms. Increasingly, as people time collusions with names on my street with Ray Colo and Mike Pandolf, Joe DeMauro and Heather Hansen also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have roles with federal evidences, federal crimes, with a real estate sign and the house at the corner of and things with people associated with the corner of Route 175 in Walker Hill, which goes by Weathersfield High School. Increasingly, that corner has something to do with them, with unnatural behavior and with their identity theft, fraud, slanders. So in other words, what's this Joshua Julian on Facebook too, pretending he had a conversation. He partied with me, and he's on the Facebook page of a principal sex offender with some KKK Confederate flag theme and black themed and Latino themed collusions with the Weathersfield police and as them and the other police forms involved. And these are multiple departments involved with my neighbors, involved with wire crime acts and methods with them, mail crimes, the interbranch switching and forging and speaking fake things in there. Get them on paper. Let's go. Shout out to everybody else. Let's get them on paper, one name and sequence. Stop jumping in people's conversations too, especially about black and white. You play punks where you're black, white, where you are. You're keeping it exactly the way, explained exactly the way breaching method only allows. You guys are communicating other than our founders communicated about this. You guys are self-valued roles with the uses of our founders' words, leaving out what they declassified about that. You're gonna watch the mail crime method. They have doctors that fake conversations with me, increasingly tied to these names, time collusions with them. Whole bunch of people at Harvard Hospital have nothing to do with healthcare. They're pretending they do. They're siphoning money off. All kinds of scams with the legal with them too. Also tactically delusions raw. Fear God. Get them on name. Judge Napolitano, do what's right. Let me get it for someone who disbelieves anything I said. What? Let's go. Let's get them on paper. Let's go.